So speaking of accountability, okay, we're about to talk about Hunter Biden, the civilian son of the current president, Joe Biden. As you all know, recently there was a special counsel assigned to his case. It was David Weiss, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. Well, now it's official. Hunter Biden is being indicted for 3 crimes related to the possession of a firearm and lying on a gun form, okay? So, Luke, I don't know if you have the article pulled up, but yeah, this is the culmination of one of the many ongoing legal dramas pertaining to Hunter Biden. This investigation has been years in the making. But yeah, so David Weiss, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, he's indicting Hunter Biden. 2 counts are related to lying on a form related to a gun because he was actually addicted to drugs at the time that he filled that form out. It's illegal to do so. And then the third form as well is that he possessed the firearm while using a narcotic, okay? Now, this was just announced today. There's obviously no telling what will happen with this. I'm sure Hunter Biden's going to fight it in court to the best of his ability. But this, to me, and I think to any sane person, undermines the argument coming from Republicans that, hey, the Justice Department has been weaponized. Can you believe, Luke, that President Biden has weaponized the Justice Department against his own son?
It's 4D chess. That's what I'm hearing in right-wing media. The 2-tier justice system, as being shown by the DOJ, is protecting Hunter Biden by putting a Trump appointee, as Biden allowed, to stay in his position of authority to oversee the case into Hunter Biden, who would eventually get special counsel status, extra authority to bring charges, and then would eventually indict Hunter Biden so that Hunter Biden would be protected. Now, I read an interesting Atlantic article that talks about how something to the effect of, Hunter Biden cashed in on his name, meaning he benefited from having the last name Biden. People thought, oh, wow, he probably has a lot of interesting connections. Of course, what they aren't able to substantiate, of course, is the link to Joe Biden doing something wrong, as we've covered extensively. But now he's seeing the downside of the prominent last name. And it walked through how, if you look at other situations with similar charges, Hunter Biden here is actually being treated worse than you would expect for these singular charges.
Can I just say to this point, to put some numbers on this? In 2019 is a great example. There were 27 million background checks conducted pertaining to this particular form. About 450 were referred to the Justice Department. 450. 3 digits out of 27 million, and fewer than 300 were actually referred to the Justice Department for charges were filed. That's how rare these charges are brought. Okay, it is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, and yet here we have Hunter Biden being the target of one. You could easily make the case that, and this is speculation, right? We'll see what happens as the trial unfolds, but it's easy to see that perhaps political pressure motivated an indictment of Hunter Biden to try to make the case that the Justice Department isn't politicized.
And this is where, oh gosh, I could pull my hair out. This is where I understand it's hard to kind of figure out where do we stand on this. Because in a sense, it's admirable that, and I'm talking about Merrick Garland's decision to give David Weiss the additional special counsel status, and also Biden leaving David Weiss in his position, knowing that removing him would seem like he's trying to get rid of the guy prosecuting his son, or overseeing the potential prosecution. But of course, Republicans never do that, anything like that. But then they bend over backwards. Both Biden and Merrick Garland nearly broke their back bending over backwards, and then still get accused of the thing they're trying to avoid being accused of, and then go, oh, sorry, you're accusing us of being politically bias. Now we're going to go above and beyond, needlessly so, to prosecute him for this crime, which, fine, he broke a law. I don't care. Prosecute him. Great. But if it's not in line with similar past prosecutions, it's a little strange. And they're still going to be accused of political persecution. Political bias, sorry.
Thank you. So there was a great, and I think you and I have discussed this either in previous videos or in, several of our off-screen rants about politics. We've talked about this before, but the Washington Post several months ago had a great expose, a great deep dive, where there's a compelling case from officers in the FBI and the Justice Department, which says that President Biden's Justice Department slow walked investigations into Donald Trump and his inner circle because they wanted to avoid the appearance of impropriety and they wanted to avoid the appearance of being politically biased. And as others have pointed out, people who are otherwise supporters of Attorney General Merrick Garland, that is a political consideration. You are actually to avoid, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You want to avoid the appearance of impropriety. You want to avoid the appearance of being politically motivated, but then you make a political motivation. And the thing is, like you said, it earns them nothing. They get no credibility with MAGA, no credibility with the Republican Party. It's all for naught. And it's so frustrating.
Sorry. Yeah. And the core of one of the big hearings they held, the IRS whistleblower one, was to say that Merrick Garland was interfering with the Hunter Biden investigation on the part of David Weiss, and David Weiss was being blocked from getting special counsel status or being able to bring charges where and when he wanted to. And he wrote a letter going, no, all is well. Merrick Garland will give me what I want when I want it, and I have complete authority over this case. And they still proceeded saying, this is another reason we have to impeach Joe Biden, even though, Merrick Garland wasn't doing the thing, and they didn't prove a link between Merrick Garland and Biden on that, but still, impeach Joe Biden. And then after that, he gets the special counsel status. No, that's still to protect Hunter Biden. And then after that, we just got word that another FBI agent came out involved in this whole thing and said, no, the whistleblowers were wrong. David Weiss had complete authority. So that entire narrative fell apart. But it was all centered around some interference, but also they said the investigation was being slow walked into Hunter Biden. Again, not making a strong case for it. But we have a very strong case for Trump's prosecutions being slow walked, and they don't care. And still, Trump's the big victim in this situation. And it really is discouraging for what it means about future situations where I want to kind of give people the benefit of the doubt on the right and try to go above and beyond to prove that really not letting partisanship blind us. Because it doesn't matter. They're going to say we're blinded by partisanship no matter what.
Right. And that's the thing. That's why so many people, and, Luke, I know we don't necessarily agree on everything, and I'm not sure where you fall on this, but I am of the opinion, I do echo the sentiments of all kinds of progressive commentators and former DOJ prosecutors, career prosecutors, people like Glenn Kirshner and others, who have made the case that Merrick Garland should not have given, in the case of, investigating Donald Trump and his inner circle, or the situation with the National Archives and the FBI with respect to the classified documents, you could easily make the argument that they did make a mistake by giving an undue grace to Donald Trump and members of his inner circle, grace that, number one, would never be reciprocated if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was Bill Barr or anybody else or a Trump DOJ, but also that it actually, in a roundabout way, encouraged Trump to believe that he's above the law. Because, hey, look, I have all these classified or national documents, and the National Archives and the FBI are going to bargain with me for 2 years, or the DOJ is going to slow walk, say, guys, please don't investigate Trump and his inner circle. We got to avoid the appearance of political bias. Perhaps going on in the future, even at the risk of upsetting people, perhaps we should be ruthlessly nonpartisan in the application of the law. And even if it gives the appearance of political bias, if the facts are there, like Attorney General Garland says, you should follow the facts without fear or favor. You could easily make the argument that he didn't live up to his own standard. Perhaps moving forward, we should do that.
And I think I actually respect, we've talked about this, I'm a little bit more, if you want to put on a spectrum, moderate on how aggressively and mirroring Republican actions Democrats should go. I do want them to be more aggressive, but maybe not as far as you would go on some things. I think a lot of it also comes down to messaging. Even if all the actions were the same, I don't think the slow walking was appropriate and stuff like that. But with the way that clearly the Biden DOJ, as they call it, or Merrick Garland's leadership with the DOJ has bent over backwards to try to not appear or be politically biased, and in so doing bent themselves into being sort of politically biased to help Trump. But ultimately, the right decision was made. But at least the surrogates of the Democratic Party and Biden should aggressively pound the messages that we do here, because Trump does this weird, I'm going to hypnotize my followers, election interference, election interference, election interference, election interference, over and over and over and over. I'm the victim, I'm the victim, I'm the victim. And people start believing it. And then random people outside of that bubble start believing it. Listen, I know Trump's not great, but it seems like political election interference, sort of, that, you know, because Biden's the president and Trump's being held accountable under the law. I don't know. And that type of messaging for an honest message should be as aggressive as the dishonest message.
Well said. I think at a bare minimum, that has to be the MO for Democrats and progressives and their surrogates in the media, both in the mainstream media and in the alternate media, such as us. We have to pursue that. It's like, listen, if anything, you are being treated with kid gloves in a way. Merrick Garland is treating Donald Trump and Republicans with more charity, quite frankly, than he's treating his own boss, his boss's son, and Democrats in general. Right now, President Biden is still technically under special counsel investigation for classified documents. You have Hunter Biden being investigated by special counsel under classified documents. There are more Bidens being investigated under Biden's DOJ than Trump's.
And why did David Weiss need special counsel status to bring gun charges that aren't even... I'm fine, again, with him being legally held accountable. Let's do it. Hooray. I'm just saying, based on, like I said, past examples that are similar, that's a whole lot of work for some lying on a federal form charges. Thank you so much for watching. For the outro on this video, I want to plug Josiah's channel. Hit them with it, Josiah.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate you watching. You can find me at youtube.com/@ponderingpolitics. One word, pondering politics. If you like progressive commentary that focuses on coalition building with other elements of the left and calling the Republican Party out for what it's become, I hope you'll view my channel. Give me a like and subscribe and some feedback. Again, youtube.com/@ponderingpolitics. Thanks again.